Chapter 9. Kittig stood at the window of his bedroom, looking down at the garden where the doctor and Sam were playing tag with his children. "They're happy," he thought. "They're laughing." Surely the destroyer of worlds would be a sour-faced fellow, full of the plasma and brimstone of his calling. But the facts remained. The doctor might be the destroyer of worlds, the uncreator. He had given several signs, not least of which was his interest in the Book of Keeping. Kittig studied the aliens, knowing that the existence of his entire world might depend on his observation, on his judgment. Sam was just small enough to ride on the back of Critil, Kittig's eldest. They were cantering round the garden, leaping over the low walls, twisting between the frosted junipers, barrelling down the bright yellow arch of the trellis, which was thick with winter jasmine. The doctor was with the twin foals, Jontil and Mrittig, chasing them, or rather Jontil and Mrittig were doing the chasing, while the doctor did clownish things, running on the spot, making wild leaps into the air that just failed to connect with the target, instead landing him in the junipers, or ending in a long skid across the frozen pond, with his light brown mane flying in the air. It all might be misdirection, of course. In fact, it was obviously misdirection, of a sort. The doctor was happy because he was happy, but perhaps he was also pretending to be happy because he was hiding something. The question was, what? Was he merely a spy, a petty thief on the run? Or was he truly the destroyer of worlds, the legendary nemesis of the tractite species? The Book of Keeping was vague on the subject of the uncreator. He will be a biped, with pale skin, and he will know our language and our ways. He will arrive unexpectedly. That was all it said about him. But it also said that he must be destroyed at once and without mercy, or everything that the Tractites have built on all of the worlds will cease to exist. Kittig looked away from the window, at the translucent walls of the bedroom, the ancient crystal furniture, at his wife Naranil, lying on the hay bed, her eyes closed, her legs and arms crossed, the fear and tension apparent in every line of her body. He swallowed. It can't be true, he thought. This can't be real. Not now, when I have my house to grow, my family to care for. This alien can't be the uncreator. There is no uncreator. It's just an old legend from the times when our people were weak and our cultures steeped in xenophobia. This is all just a horrible coincidence. He turned back to the window. The doctor was now lying on his back in the freezing grass, laughing at Sam, who was trying and failing to stand up on Critil's back. There was a rustle of cloth behind him, and the heavy clopping of Naranil crossing the floor. She slipped in by his side, her body against his, her breath against the side of his neck. "What do you think?" she asked after a while. "I don't believe it," said Kittig. "I never did believe it. Evil without purpose doesn't make sense. And I can't believe the doctor is so deranged that he would deliberately destroy us. Look at him. Why did you choose to be a watcher of the keeping, then?" Kittig shrugged. "I don't know. My father did it." Naranil moved away from him and gave a derisive snort. Kittig turned to face her. "How often do you think someone who might be the uncreator comes along? About once every 1,000 years. It was just a sinecure, a guaranteed income for life, a ridiculous title from the primitive ages, and no work. If I'd even thought it possible that it would really happen, I wouldn't have taken it on." "It has happened," said Naranil, "and you have a duty." She tossed her head, went to the jade wardrobe at the far wall, found some leather shoes, and began pulling them on over her hooves. Kittig took a breath. "Naranil, my father told me that the Watchers aren't just there to guard us against the uncreator. They're also there to make sure we don't go killing every biped who arrives here in unexplained circumstances. There have been irrational reactions in the past. Unnecessary killings. I don't think I'm being irrational. I'm just trying to protect my family and everybody else's family. Which is your job, I think. Naranil walked across to him, 3 shoes on, the 4th in her hand. She opened her night eyes, and Kittig saw the angry clouds there, flushed amber with blood. He was interested in our history, our evolutionary history. He asked about the Uncreator. He has the right physical shape, and he lied about the spaceship. A re-entry vehicle? It obviously came out of nowhere. It obviously travelled through time. Not obviously, began Kittig. How else could it have got there? Snapped Naranil. What more does he have to do, Kittig? Wave a banner in the air saying, I have come to destroy you all. Kittig turned his head to hers, so that their cheeks touched, and put an arm around her shoulders. I've contacted Beryl, the Watcher in Defirus. He'll be here in a couple of hours. Naranil pulled away from him, went to the pool near the bed, and splashed her head and neck with scented water. You don't need anyone else's opinion. It's obvious. Kittig turned back to the window, saw the doctor looking up at him from the garden. The strange, round face was still smiling, the golden mane still bright in the sun, but the doctor was watching him. He felt a prickling of fear along his spine. The doctor couldn't possibly have heard anything that he and Naranil had said. But those eyes... Suddenly, the doctor frowned, then put a hand on his chest and fell over backward. Kittig saw Sam laughing down at him from Critill's back. Then the doctor's face began to turn blue. Sam looked around in consternation, said something to Critill, and slid down off her back. She bent over the doctor for a moment, then set off for the house at a dead run. Naranil trotted to the window. What's happening? I don't know. I think the doctor is ill. The garden door slammed, and Sam's rapid, uneven bipedal footsteps echoed in the lower parts of the house. Kittig went out to the inner gallery, a helical chamber in pale green crystal. Roughened steps led down the helix to the ground level, and Sam was bounding up them. Kittig! There were still pieces of ice and soil on her clothing from the game, but her expression was tense and frightened. We need to get back to the TARDIS straight away. Your ship? Asked Kittig. Yes, the TARDIS, please. The doctor's ill. Kittig and Naranil glanced at each other, a flicker of night eyes. Kittig could see his wife's suspicion, could almost feel it, like a breath against his skin. And she was right. He knew that. This illness was very convenient, and the way the doctor had looked up at him. Kittig could feel the evidence closing in, like a wire noose. I don't want to kill anyone. He says he needs some medicine we have in the TARDIS, Sam was saying. Let me see him, said Kittig. He could feel Naranil's gaze following him as he went after Sam down the stairs. In the garden, the doctor was lying quite still on the cold ground. Sam leaned over him. Kittig looked around, saw Critill and the younger children standing by the winter jasmine, nuzzling one another's neck and snorting nervously. Abruptly, Sam jolted upright, her face creased with emotion. He's, she broke off, stamped foot on the ground in an almost tractite gesture. I don't know. Kittig knelt down over the doctor, put his head to the alien's chest, listened. He still has a heartbeat, he said. 2, I think. Is that normal? Sam swallowed, looked at the ground, said nothing. The exposed skin of her face was pale. From what he knew of species of her type, Kittig guessed that she was in shock. He came to a decision. Jontil, Mrittig, find my saddle baskets. I'll carry him. Critill, call a skimmer from the park. He saw Naranil in the shadow of the house, her day eyes wide with astonishment. He walked over to her slowly. What are you doing? She asked in a low voice. There's no way we should take them back to their ship. We can't wait for any more consultations. We should kill them ourselves, now. Critig put an arm on hers. I've told you. I can't take the risk of killing an intelligent being or letting one die, for the sake of an ancient story that might not even be true. Naranil glared at him, her night eyes open again, dark with blood. If you won't do it now, she hissed, then at least let me come with you. I will kill them if it becomes necessary. Kittig looked down at his hooves planted in the cold soil. He knew she was right. The Doctor and Sam might be innocent, but they might not be. There was always the possibility that the Book of Keeping was telling the truth, in which case the stakes were too high to take any chances. Very well, he said. Come with me. Kill them yourself if you have to. But wait until I have made the decision, until we have no choice. Will you promise me that? Naranil's night eyes closed. I promise. But Kittig wasn't sure he believed her.